Howdy. In this video, I plan on covering a lot of the information I know about the Pit of Heresy, from secret bosses, interesting spots, helpful tricks, trivia, and lore. I plan on feeding you everything but the actual mechanics. Okay, subscribe, like, share, comment, very helpful, appreciated, yes. Okay, now let's get started. For starters, the first ever clear of Pit of Heresy took 1 hour, 5 minutes, and 4 seconds, making it the longest ever race for a world's first dungeon. The current highest amount of clears a single player has on this dungeon is 7,418, set by a player named Pure with a little smiley face. That's over 3,000 clears more than second place. The last stat from the Dungeon Report website that I wanted to share comes from a player named Taken, who managed to carry 888 Guardians through the Pit of Heresy for their first time. The trailer for Pit of Heresy released on Halloween 2019, 2 full days after the launch of the dungeon. While falling into the pit in the beginning of the dungeon, if you line yourself up right here and either sword block or jump at the perfect time, you can ricochet off a slanted rock at the bottom to get some insane speed. This is less of a fact and more of an opinion or idea, but I believe that not just the Necropolis encounter, but this whole dungeon and just anything related to this Legion of Hive in general is inspired by the City of the Dead from Lord of the Rings. But instead of green, it's red. I did go so far as to email Bungie to ask about this to see if I was right, but alas, I got no response, so I cannot confirm this. Pit of Heresy focuses on the race of Hive known as the Hidden Swarm, one of 9 Hive races in the game. Aside from bosses, Pit of Heresy boasts 9 unique enemies: a Cursed Swordbearer, Harrowing Pariah, Heretical Knight, Malevolent Ritualist, Might of the Broken Blade, Omen of the Broken Blade, Oracle of the Broken Blade, Pitkeeper. And the 9th hidden enemy is something of a secret boss, so to summon him, you will have to have completed the Xenophage quest in its entirety. Once the quest is completed, follow the path on screen to duel with the Apocalyptic Blade. From the Necropolis encounter, if you look down into the massive chasm sprawling out under the Hive City, you can see the final boss arena, which leads nicely into the next piece of info. According to the lore, the city of Necropolis is where the Daughters of Crota sat to watch the battles unfold in the pit, seeing which of the contenders would be strong enough to fill the Osseum throne after the Osseum King's passing. The Osseum King is a whole other can of worms, but just know that he fathered Xivu-Arath orcs and Savathun. While fighting the Broken Blade mini-bosses in the Necropolis encounter, you may have realized that your sword has a super that does bonus damage to the mini-bosses. And if you've done Pit enough, you'll know that the super will hit targets for immune if it's cast while in the air, even if just a little bunny hop. Naturally, you would assume that this means that the Shrieker mini-boss cannot be harmed by the super attack, but surprisingly, it can. I suppose the hitboxes are just perfectly able to connect. However, this does not work on the Shrieker in the final boss arena. After you've cleared the tower with the burger symbol, or if you are just passing through that area on the way to a different tower, if you run over to the left to this staircase, a Swordbearer Knight will spawn in. If for some reason he doesn't spawn in when you do this, you should check behind you because he could be sprinting right for you. Here's a path that could save you a couple seconds getting from tower to tower. There were once a bunch of hidden lore books in Pit of Heresy, but now that they're all gone, only the locations remain. This spot is one of my favorites to climb to. You can use the opening right above the correct door to reach the same spot. You can mantle while dunking a ball to cancel the dunk animation and save time. If one of the ogres in the maze is shooting at you and you fear you may die from the beam, the safest thing to do is to actually run under his feet. This will cancel the beam attack and cause a stomp attack, which with a well-timed jump can send you flying forward with an extra burst of momentum. Cool detail about the Hive Wizard that keeps its claws on Xenophage is that it has the model for a wizard from Savathun's brood, making it the only enemy in the dungeon with that appearance. However, the enemy type is still classified as a member of the Hidden Swarm, making me unsure if this was a lazy copy-paste or has ties to some deeper lore. Incidentally, while we are on this topic, there is a secret chest hidden under the Xenophage boss arena that you can get to by following this path. Another secret hidden in this encounter is the 10th dead ghost, which you can reach by following this path. The 10th ghost only spawns once the other 9 have been collected from the moon, which requires having 9 lost ghost traces, which drop from moon activities. Acquiring all 10 ghosts grants the Lunar Memoriam emblem, which I happen to think is one of the best emblems in the game and almost never take it off. The last thing related to this encounter is a complete skip for it. Before dropping into the big pit to enter the maze, instead hop onto this little ledge and turn around. From here, you should run into this wall, and then once you have reached a sprint, quickly move your perspective slightly to the right and slide. This allows you to slide up the little invisible box, preventing you from just crouching through. This may take a few tries. Once you've gotten a good slide and have breached the ledge, you should pull out a sword and start using light attacks to help push your character model forwards. Methods other than swords that work include all of the Titan melees that send you flying forwards, Warlock's lightning surge powered melee, and the Storm's Edge super on Hunter. I believe that the sword swing is a much easier, cheaper, and consistent way of doing this, however, so that is what I will recommend. Once you are officially out of bounds and can walk and jump freely on the rock ledge, you want to hug the wall to the right of whence you came and drop off the edge when the floor ends. This avoids death barriers that lie in other drop-off points from the ledge. Once you've fallen a good distance, you can hop or glide your way over to the ogre maze and start to cross it. Once you've hit the doors that lead into the totem encounter, you want to jump up to the backside of one of the doors that the hive boomers spawn from in the totem encounter, and hug the silver goop until the text appears in the bottom left that says, "The ogres flee." After this, you want to kill yourself, which can be best done with explosives or ricochet rounds. If you are completely out of everything and can't be bothered to swap, you can follow this path to jump off the edge to die. After the wipe screen has disappeared, you will respawn within the confines of the totem encounter. In the totem encounter, it takes roughly 30 seconds for the knights to spawn in. If you get lucky, you can survive one of the big spike things to the face while falling. I'm unsure if this is frame dependent or not. The second secret chest in Pit of Heresy is located right here. There are a lot of ways to skip around in the witches encounter. Here I'm going to show you a couple developer intended ones that can help make routes faster and less dangerous. After you've cleared the witches encounter, you can run over to the spot where respawning becomes restricted and explode yourself or jump off the ledge like I do here, and it will pull you all the way to the rally flag. It will also pull any members of your fire team not in the respawning restricted zone, making this a solid strat for speedrun clears. Just like how you can see the boss arena from the first encounter, you can see the first encounter from the boss arena. When introduced, Zulmak was the 4th hive creature to wield his own sword, with Crota, Oryx, and Ekthar, Sword of Oryx, being the other 3. This remained true until Season of the Witch, when a story beat was released where we came face to face with a hive knight known as Leviathan Eater, Bane of the Ammonites, who also wielded Zulmak's sword. Alongside wielding the same sword, he attacked very similarly. Briefly talking more about the Leviathan Eater, I wanted to mention that he has one of the longest in-game names for any enemy, totaling 34 characters without spaces and 38 characters with spaces. His lore is also way cooler than Zulmak, but I shall refrain from talking much more about this guy. Just know that his name is very accurate. Both Zulmak and Dol Inkaru, the final boss of the Shattered Throne, have massive unknown crystals in their encounters. I'm unsure if these have any lore implications and connect the two somehow, or maybe it was just what the design team was into when designing the first 2 dungeons. Regardless, there are 2 massive crystals that are unexplained. And lastly, the fastest Pit of Heresy has ever been cleared by a full fire team is 5 minutes and 1 second, making it painstakingly close to the sub 5 minute marker. That run was done a year ago, however, so potentially there is some room for improvement with all the new stuff we have now. Thank you everyone so much for watching. If you enjoyed, make sure to share the video, as that's what gets YouTube's algorithm going the most. On top of that, a like and subscribe are also much appreciated, and so is a comment, negative or positive. If you guys liked how this video turned out, please let me know. I love making this out of some of my more recent videos, and seeing as there are quite a few other pieces of content in the game filled with secrets, I am sure that the genre can continue.